Hello everyone, and welcome to this video game review for Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker expansion. So, before I get into the game proper, one, this is a spoiler-free review, and two, a preface about, my general opinion of Final Fantasy XIV, which is, pre-Shadowbringers, the previous expansion, I would have only recommended the game to Final Fantasy fans that want to debate in the nostalgia debate that is the game. Because that, at the end of the day, is what Final Fantasy XIV is. It is just, here's a bunch of Final Fantasy tropes and nostalgia. That said, the story itself, because this is a story-focused MMO, has massively improved as of Endwalker. It was slowly improving in general. You still have to slog through the Realm Reborn story, which isn't horrible, it's just not that great in order to get, through things. Because this isn't like World of Warcraft, where you can just level however you want and skip the story that previously happened. No, it makes you go through the entire main story quest, as it's referred to, or MSQ. Unless you do a story skip, which I don't recommend, you're going to need to play through all of it. And if you just want to catch up with your friends, do a story skip, but I recommend not skipping past Shadowbringers, for multiple reasons, including the relevancy that it has to the current expansion. Post Shadowbringers, the story improves massively. The gameplay actually changed to the lesser, in my opinion, but that is a change that affects the entire game, and that's just the classes got more homogenized and simplified. Mechanically, for those of whom that play other MMOs, it is a 2.5 second GCD, so it is a slower game, but the higher end content is a lot about pretty much dance choreography, remembering the fights and learning a lot of patterns and stuff. It is a lot of avoiding AoEs. You can't just tank and spank these fights. That aside, let's get on to the Endwalker part of the review, what this video is more specifically for. Server issues aside, because those will eventually go away. As bad as they've been, those will eventually go away, and that's due to the new influx of players, so I'm not having that be a blemish on this, at least in my opinion. The story is I'd put it better than Stormblood, not as good as Endwalker. And that comes purely down to the pace. Once you get past Zone 4, the pace slows down. And past Zone 5, so in other words, onto the last zone, because it's still only 6 zones like every expansion beforehand, the pace is tremendously slow. It took me 8 to 10 hours of gameplay without doing side quests other than the ones for the Aether Currents to go from the end of the second trial, which is the last thing you do before going to the 6th zone, to finish the story. The pace was atrocious. The story itself is very good, although you'll probably need to see a therapist afterwards, if you don't already. I'm not going to say why, but yeah. I know already I'm not the only person saying, yeah, therapy is a good thing from this expansion. It's not bad, it's just a heavy subject. Outside of the slow pace, the story is really good. A lot of stuff, again, I gotta be really vague to avoid spoilers, but a lot of really interesting stuff happens. And there's a few plot twists here and there. Not as big as people in my FC were telling me, as I was leveling behind since I leveled Reaper ASAP and just played Reaper all the way through. I have yet to even finish the second combat class. But I have done the extremes. I'll get to that later. But it is nice chunks of story here and there. There are multiple themes that go on throughout the MSQ, and, it's very nice. I like some of the revelations that do come about, and then others were like, oh, okay. None of them were bad, but not all of them were like, oh. So, if you're looking for more story, definitely a recommendation, but be prepared for the need of a therapist and that really slow pace. Mechanically, there are some gripes here. First off, there are 2 new types of quests introduced, and a third one that was actually introduced as part of one of the Golden Saucer, I think last year's Make It Rain event, the Golden Saucer event. That one being the look left and right from a first-person point of view, and then answer questions, not skippable. Thankfully, you don't need to get the questions correctly like you did in the first introduction of that type, but it's still annoying and, again, time-consuming. Messes with the pace. It happens more and more as you go, in fact. The other 2, which are escort and follow quests. Follow quests I have less of an issue with. It's more like, hey, here's a simple stealth kind of quest, or like a just keep up. More often it's a stealth quest. You can be mounted for these. You can't for the escort quests. And while these have some good lore bits to them, because when you're escorting somebody, you can find these areas that become very visually obvious, where you can stop and get the opinion of the people you're escorting of the thing prevalent there. So it's really nice from that point of view. From doing this in the in-game city, I find that the treasure room, the new treasure room, is actually located inside that city, which was interesting. So there's some tidbits here and there. But you cannot mount up for these. If you do, that's fine. But if you go at full mount pace, even not flying, the NPCs will lose track of you and go back to where you originally got them, which is thankfully on the map, but it's still really annoying. They will keep up with sprint and movement powers. So, just really weird. It's still annoying. Also, the follow quests, if you screw them up, you have to do them all the way from the beginning. That said, it's just more of the same. A lot of the universal changes that happened for classes, especially for melee, including tank, were heavily appreciated, one of the big ones being melee chains are no longer interrupted by range attacks and things like that. I don't even think chains fall off anymore, skill chains that is. So, like, oh hey, I did the second ability, and now I'm just waiting till I can use the third one because there's a break in the fight, or I'm literally between fights. Either that or they extended it to the point where I just don't even notice anymore. The new dungeons are nice, the trials are very nice. You can use your trust party for the second trial, and I highly recommend that just because you don't get the chance again. From what I can tell, there is no option to do that again, so do it. I did it just because I wanted to avoid the queue. Again, I was playing Reaper, and after the experience of the first trial taking 40 minutes because people just kept dying, I didn't want 15-minute queue on top of 40 minutes of, oh, we keep dying. And even then, I died in the trial, but that was because I accidentally teleported off the edge. Whee! And when you die, it resets, I think. You get a number of deaths, or deaths as in, oh, hey, your party member saved you, but apparently hitting the edge and falling off, or in this case, just dying because it's not an edge to fall off, not the point, was just, nope, too bad, start over. C'est la vie. And then the third trial, I can't really remember too much because, like with previous expansions, it doesn't have an extreme version yet. But it was very interesting for the purpose of the story and what you end up fighting. The endgame dungeons, the 3 of them, the one you have to do before the third trial, and thus have to do for the MSQ, and the 2 optional ones are very interesting. I really like the 2 optional ones. They delve more into the story of the 2 areas that they're from. Not just, here's a thing going on in an area we're already fully aware of, or something like that. And then the extremes were actually pretty decent. They weren't as crazy as I've seen the first 2 extremes end up being, of just like, what? Absolute craziness. One is more of a, learn where to stand and not to stand, and the other one is actually, do things properly with your party. Also, they no longer have, split accessories. They did more of what they did, I think, last expansion, because they didn't really raid or do extremes too much last expansion early on. So, weapons are from one, and accessories are from the other. And also, you're handed your artifact armor at level 89. It's interesting. And it automatically, stat-wise, upgrades to level 90. Basically sync down while you were still level 89, I think they said. You also don't need to finish the role quest either. The role quest needs to be finished if you want to dye that gear. The Reaper gear looked really nice. I didn't bother looking at what the others were. But overall, I enjoyed the expansion. It went a lot slower, not just because of the pace or the servers. I had some personal issues going on, even though I still managed to take the week off. And like I said, so it was really enjoyable. That's all for now this time. But before I get to the outro, I'm going to be trying to do videos for Final Fantasy XIV. I'm probably not going to do dungeon videos and trial videos for this opening content because there's probably already videos out there, but if people would like me to, I have recorded footage for them that I would need to edit in voiceover. I will primarily be focusing on class guides, because honestly I don't see those a lot that aren't just do this rotation because. I will be doing a ability by ability as you unlock them through levels, including the ones that don't start at level 1. Giving a lot of thoughts and stuff like that, doing an actual, here's what your potency damage per second, so relative to your gear, but the potency is the same, what that should be where abilities are more useful, how your rotations might change, things like that. But this will also be all my own opinion and might go contrary to the community or a lot of people who do thorough guides already. Like, a big thing that I know of is, no, I will not be recommending skill speed on black mages. At least if they're anything like last expansion. But these will also come out as I'm able to get around to them, which first means I have to level the classes, and I'm not even done with my second combat class, as I said earlier. That said, that is everything this time around. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to press that like button. If you think somebody else will enjoy this video, feel free to share it. Either way, I hope this video gets seen more. If you didn't like this video, go and press the dislike button. I won't mind, but please leave a constructive comment as to why. Also, feel free to comment in general, such as, do you want to see the dungeon and trial videos? Do you want to see any other kind of videos? Like, I'm more than willing to cover almost anything in this game, except pretty much PvP, because I don't care. But right now, my goal is to mainly focus on the class guides. Because I remember when I was looking into it last expansion, I couldn't find a decent one, honestly. Or would you like me to go over other Final Fantasy stuff with the entire series? I've played almost every game, I have the entire main series, and most of the side games, including classic Game Boy versions of, like, the Saga series, back when it was called Final Fantasy, and the game that was actually the prequel to Secret of Mana. Haha! If you'd like to see more like this, be it other video game and board game reviews, my board game overviews, my painting videos, and anything else you might want to see on this channel, feel free to subscribe. Regardless, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye!